Hello, everybody. This is Annie again. I am back for my another series of Bus Lab Chat with Annie. And today I have a special guest all the way to Vancouver, Canada. But before I go on, I just want to say good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, wherever part of the world you all may be. And like I said, I am Annie. I am a nurse, and I'm coming to you from the South Carolina, USA. So right now I'm going to bring my special guest all the way from Canada.
Hi,
Hello, Coach
Annie.
Paulo. Thank you so much for saying yes to me during this
Of course,
interview.
yeah. I love doing these interviews. So
Thank
yeah.
you, thank you. I always I follow you so many. I mean, every time I actually follow your page. I'm just a stalker, I guess. I'm sorry.
So yeah,
Yeah, but we met during I think I joined your with Coach Georgia.
yeah,
Remember, I joined the one. I mean, two times I joined the Zoom. I mean, the live Zoom meeting, something like
yeah.
that. Twice. That's how I saw you. That's how I know you. But I was like, I'm gonna reach out to you because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to interview male entrepreneur because a lot of inquiries are thinking that this business is only for women because
Yeah.
majority of our business partner is female. So I said I'm gonna bring some male entrepreneurs so that people can know that there is it's for everybody. It's not only
Yeah.
female, it's for everyone, you know. So
Right.
that's why I've been interviewing a lot of male lately, so that I can encourage some of the male. And I mean, my friends that are, everybody that this business is for everybody. But anyway, before I go on, I just want you to introduce your name or introduce yourself. What were you doing before you do this business?
Yeah, definitely. So hi everyone. As Andy mentioned, my name is Paulo. So I was born in the Philippines, but moved to Calgary, Alberta, Canada when I was 6 months old. So I'm more Canadian, but I mean, I know a lot of the Filipino stuff. I can understand Tagalog because of my lola and lolo, nanay and tatay. They speak to me in Tagalog, but trying to speak it is another thing. However, when I went back to the Philippines twice, it just somehow comes out. But yeah, so I grew up in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, but live here now in Vancouver, British Columbia. And yeah, my background was I've been nursing for over 21 years. I graduated from the University of Calgary and did many areas of specialty in nursing. So I worked in thoracic surgery, respiratory medicine in Calgary, and then I moved to Vancouver, did that same unit as well. And then I moved over to England, did a bit there, then moved back from England to Calgary because I got offered a research position working at Tom Baker, working as a clinical trials nurse for the gastrointestinal group. So did that for a few years, then moved over back to Vancouver, and then worked at BC Cancer, working as an oncology clinical trials nurse as well. So I worked in many tumor groups. So it's like gynecology, gastrointestinal, sarcoma, brain tumors, rare tumors. And then I quit and then went into pharmaceuticals. And I worked for Bristol Myers Squibb for 2 years, working as they call it a monitor, but it's like a real-time auditor of cancer trials. So I was on the other end to make sure that the protocols were being followed by the sites. So did that for a couple of years, and then I burnt out and I went back to clinical trials, but doing more from an IT perspective in a sense. So I've done multiple areas of nursing, and yeah, it's a great career. But as Annie, I'm sure you can relate. It's a career that's really you really enjoy nursing, but at the same time, it's a very stressful job because when I I'd be charge nurse at sometimes at Vancouver General at nighttime, and this was maybe almost 10 years ago, and they're pushing a lot of patients from emergency up to the standard units and putting patients in the hallways, and it was more patient load than what you're normally used to at night shifts, and it was always the staffing shortage that we were dealing with. That was like 10 years ago, and I know it's not gotten any better. in a sense. So yeah, the stressful part is what led to a couple burnouts and a physical sort of thing that came upon me. But I'll answer that afterwards because that's sort of I know you had some questions, so I'll let you ask me the other questions and then we'll go from there.
Thank you so much, Coach Paulo. But I don't understand because we're both in the nursing field, and I just like I don't think the short stopping is has been the problem anywhere, and
Yeah,
I don't think it's gonna get better.
yeah,
And I know about the safety because I work in other hospital also on side of my full time job, and I can see safety is one of those that I really I'm not really happy because sometimes I don't like the one when they have to transfer patient, you get admission on the time where you're trying to get a report with your other patient that's already on the floor. And they never even think, I'm sure they think about that, but who cares, right? They just shove it there. It's like, and it's your responsibility. And that's one thing that really, really irritates me. I'm sorry.
yeah,
I worry about the patient safety is,
yeah.
and it's
And
also I worry about my license because once they I mean, put it in there. It's your responsibility, and anything
it
happens,
is, yeah.
they'll come back
Yeah,
to
and
you.
a lot of it's like the ethical thing too, and the license. But then also, like, I know a lot of nurses work night shifts, evenings, and when those shifts happen, there's a lot of other support systems that aren't there in a sense, and then so you have to step in as a nurse because you just feel obligated that you need to do that. And like I remember there's times where I'm cleaning like biohazard materials because there's no housekeeping, like it's taking forever, or there's like maintenance things, like there's issues, like I'm stepping in and trying to help because the thing is like you're always thinking about patient safety regardless. And so that's always like number one priority, so I'll do whatever I can to help to make sure the patient's safe. But it leads us to sort of the gray areas of our practice in a way, and
Yes,
so that led to a lot of sort of physical strains in my body, mental and emotional sort of strains as well. But yeah, over the years, it just hasn't gotten better. And the colleagues that still keep in contact with who work in inpatients said, yeah, it's not gotten any better. Outpatients not gotten any better either, too. It's just, we're just a population that's just staying there. We're living longer, but yet there's not enough healthcare workers to help manage all the other things that are coming up. And so that's where I think the issue is. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Even if there's so many that graduate, it's still not enough to cover the hospital that needed, especially during pandemic when everybody's begging for nurses.
yeah,
Those are the time that, my goodness, everybody's begging for nurses. But
yeah,
thank you for that. And even though you mentioned you live now in Vancouver. Actually,
yeah.
I lived in Vancouver for 2 years.
Oh
In
wow, that's
Yeah, in Surrey. And
oh wow, okay,
yes,
okay,
actually work there as a caregiver. And my boss works in my ex-boss work in what's that, in the airport.
okay, okay.
Yeah, one of those that check your passport whether
Yeah.
you can get into whether you can get into Canada.
Oh, like immigration. So
The
yeah.
immigration, yeah, they are American and Canadian citizens, but
Okay.
they live in Canada. So
Okay.
they are the one that brought me here in the United States, actually.
Nice.
So I'm thankful for them. I'm thankful for them. But anyway, enough of my talking. It's supposed to be your time. It's now I'm sorry about that. Well, anyway, I know you answered some of this question already, but I know what decided you inspired to start your digital business, and why did you choose this one? How do you know
Yeah.
this is the right one for you?
So there's two reasons I started looking for something in the digital spaces because, as I mentioned earlier, burnouts. I've experienced it twice, and I don't wish it on anyone because, especially for me, because I really care about my patients. But when I was my first burnout, I came upon. I remember I didn't want to go to work. When patients would call about issues, I just be like, like just hurry up, give me the information. Like it was that kind of attitude and thinking because I was just so tired and exhausted from the work. And So with my situation in clinical trials, cancer clinical trials, I was working in a specific unit with two other nurses, and so it was working really well. And then about a year after, our one nurse had to go on stress leave because it's a very demanding sort of role with being in clinical trials because you're not just responsible for doing clinical stuff where you see patients, do their vitals, check their adverse events and symptoms from the drugs that they're receiving, but also you're responsible for the care of the patient throughout the time they're on the study, and as well as you're responsible for opening up new trials at the site as well. So that involves not just nursing stuff, it's logistics. You're dealing with trying to figure out if lab can handle the capacity, if CT scans can do that. Where does a specific test work? Can it happen in BC Cancer? If not, then does VGH does it? Does another hospital do it? So then you have to outsource other services, and at the same time put together pre-printed orders of almost like a 250, like some of these protocols are almost 200 300 pages long. They have to put in all the specific lab tests, the scans, the visits, the questionnaires into a 1 or 2 or 3 page pre-printed order paper, so that doctors know what to order at every cycle. And so it's a list of things that you're responsible for. Times that by, you're responsible for 8 to 10 trials, active trials, but then you have follow-up trials where patients, there can be between 5 to 30 patients on follow-up. So your list of patients is a very long sort of list. And so when our one colleague had to take a stress leave, me and my colleague were working 3 nurse workload. So just think of what I was responsible alone as a trials nurse, times that by uh, there's like, yeah, 3 nurses, and then divide that by 2 nurses. So it was just a lot of workload that we had to deal with for 2 years, almost 2 years, because we couldn't find an adequate nurse to take over the third position, because not a lot of people want to go into clinical trials because of the list of things you have to do. But I like it because of the autonomy. You work Monday to Friday, you get to work really close with the doctors, and so it was, and you get a very close sort of relationship with patients. But yeah, I burnt out after that period because me and my colleague, we were coming in on weekends to prep for our clinics because we didn't have time during the week. And as you know, Annie, when you document, you have to document on the day of. So I'd be documenting sometimes till 6 7 at night because clinics were so busy, they're back to back seeing patients. So it was just not the best environment, where burnout was just, it was bound to happen. And then I reached it and I said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I need a change, because I don't want to really hate this job and not want to ever come back to it. And so that's when I switched over to clinical trial, to working for the pharmaceutical company. So yeah, burnout happened there, and then I received burnout with the pharmaceutical company because on a corporate level, they work you to the bone because you get bonuses, which is nice, but you have to provide evidence of why they should give you your bonus. So that involves not just your regular workday, but what other extra projects did you do, or initiatives? And those initiatives and projects require you to work outside of the work time. And they always say, you know what, when you work over your hours, well, you can take the time off. But when you're so busy, when you have deadlines, you have to meet these sort of time frames. When can you take the time off? So I left when I quit that pharmaceutical job after 2 years. I had over 300 hours of time that I could not take off, and I couldn't get paid for it. And for me, that was like also led to another burnout, but also led to, because I was on the computer, on my phone for 10, 16-hour days, my vision got affected as well. And like, I can't be on a computer phone for more than 1.5, 2 hours, or then I get blurry vision. So that's like not just burnout, but like it actually affected my eyes. So yeah, it's just those things with a health condition caused me to start looking for something else. But also on top of that, I end up developing a neuromuscular disorder. It's a rare condition called cervical dystonia. It only affects 3% of the population. So this happened around the time that I was getting burnout as well from the clinical trials job. And so this type of disorder, you basically lose voluntary control of your head movements. So the part of the brain that sends signals to any part of your body is sending too many signals here. And so my head just kept doing this every few seconds. And it just got aggressively worse. And every time I got angry about it, it just turned even more. And then it pinched the nerve between my C5 and 6 because there's repetitive motion every time. So it pinched the nerve. So I got sensory motor neuropathy on this right arm to the point I couldn't use it anymore. And so I had two things that were really affecting me. So Annie, it happened in a matter of 8 weeks. And it was such a
Wow.
short period. I went to my family doctors. I went to the emergency. They couldn't properly diagnose me until one of the doctors I work with, a medical oncologist, referred me to a neurologist, and they said, "This is what you have." And so I got diagnosed with this disorder just before I turned 33. I was healthy, going to the gym, but then this disorder led me to become bedbound. I couldn't feed myself properly. I couldn't dress myself properly. My mom flew out. She was flying out for my birthday anyways, but then I didn't tell her at the time. And then I had to tell her because I couldn't hide it. And she stayed out for like 5 months to help me kind of get back on my feet because I ended up getting Botox in my neck. And that's what I get now every 4 months to allow me to have voluntary control my head movement. But yeah, my mom, she stayed out with me. I remember there's times I was crying in bed because I thought this is my new normal, that I wasn't going to get any better. But during that period of me crying and stuff, I wasn't worried about like how to get back to being healthy. I was worried about like and I just bought a new condo downtown in Vancouver with my ex. I didn't know, I was worried about financial stuff. Who's going to pay for the mortgage? Like, how am I going to pay for the bills? Like, it was all mostly money related issues that I was worried about. I wasn't worried about trying to get healthy. And I said, I don't want to be at that point in my life again where I'm worried about money. So that's why I started looking for something else in the online space. And then, so that's the health part. And then the other part was the vacation part of nursing, because I've told you all the places I moved around. Seniority level, your pay still stays the same, but vacation wise, you default back to the standard of what new nurses get. And for me, as a nurse for over 21 years, I've seen my other colleagues who stayed in one area, they're getting almost 7, 8 weeks. And for me to go down to the default, usually like usually about 3 or 4 weeks. For me, that's not fair in a sense, because when I get hired in a new role, they see my seniority, they see my knowledge, they expect a lot more from me. I'm more of like, okay, he's going to be the one that's going to be onboarding a new nurse. He's going to be the one that's going to look after more because he has more knowledge, but I don't get paid more for it. I don't get more time off for it because of the unions type of thing. So that's the thing, is like the restrictions of time off was what really bothered me. And because of the seniority too, even though I worked that long, I have to work with other people's seniority. So if I wanted time off on this specific time, I may not get it off because someone who is, as someone who is more senior will get that time off if they book it first. So those are the two things that really drive me to look for something else, because I know I'm a hard worker. I know I want to help other people. And so I came across this platform, this system, because I actually know the two guys that created this whole system. And so one of them I knew even before the business, and I was following their page, sort of like how you follow my page, but I was following their page and just slowly seeing their successes over I would say over almost over just under a year. I was seeing them making 500, a couple thousand, and then them buying a new place and stuff. And I'm just like, how are they doing this? And so that's when I started looking into it, watched the information webinar, and then I saw sort of how the business system and the automation part works, and how the commissions, like how you can earn really high commissions. And I was sold on that because for me, it's like, if there's no cap on how you can earn money, I was just like, I'm on board with that, because there's a lot of things I'm using this business as a fuel to fund other sort of endeavors that I want to do in sort of in my life now. So yes, I know it's a long-winded sort of answer, but I'm hoping people can hear my story and somewhat relate, because I know the stresses are out there for work. I know the demands are out there because a lot of areas are short staffed, not just in healthcare, in other areas of work. And especially AI is coming in. It's already in, and AI is replacing a lot of other roles and stuff. And so that adds on to the workload of other people. So yeah, yeah, I hope that answers question your that one question.
Yes, I mean, actually, I mean, you have a really, really unique story. Everybody have a unique story, and the reason why did you do this digital online business? Because I have my own story, and I'm sure that everybody can resonate with our own story, you know. And I really envy. I mean, I know that we really never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Like for
Yep.
being healthy, and now you have all that. Uh, health problem that happened to you in that short period of time because of work, you know, and and then you worry, instead of worrying about recovery, you're worrying about the financial thing because you don't know how to pay all of that, your mortgage or anything that you already had it before it happened. So that's one thing that we, like me, at last year I had an accident and I burned myself.
Oh,
I was trying to cook. I was trying to cook sweet potato.
yeah.
I spill oil on my hand, and I still have
Oh,
this of
ouch.
those. Yeah, and I was off for like 2 months, 2.5 months, and of course, you know, you burn all your sick leave, your annual leave, because you have to have something to. I mean, you have to have income to come in, even if you don't work. And if you don't have any other source of income, it's really hard on you because you have bills to pay. Like you say, you have mortgage to pay, you have car loans to pay, anything, right? And those are the things that worse. And that time I realized I really need to work my business.
Yeah.
I already on my business, but I was just new, and but I was like, I really need to make this business work because I don't want to happy this to be to where instead of recovering and worrying about my recovery, I'm worrying about how I'm going to pay my bills tomorrow. The bills just kept coming and coming,
Yeah.
and it's like, I'm going to pay my bills, you know. And
Hmm.
also, of course, you still have to pay for your food, for everything that you need every day, and it's so hard when you don't have any other source of income. So
Hmm.
I mean, I can resonate in your situation because that's why I always encourage everybody that while you're still healthy, do something. You know, do a plan B. You know,
Yeah.
because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow or maybe today. You just
Yeah.
in a,
It's
instead of
always
blinking the eye.
it's always like being you have to be proactive now. You can't be
Mhm.
reactive. It's crazy how we all saw it during the pandemic, how a lot of people lost their jobs regardless of how long they worked for companies. And I thought that whole period would have taught people that I need to be more proactive in the sense of like making sure I have other streams of revenue, because relying on day job now isn't it's not doable anymore. And yeah, because we never know if another pandemic might happen again and we're back to restrictions and stuff. So you have to, like, during even during the restrictions, I'll tell you all, our community still grew. And you know why? Because we're all on our phones. And
Yes.
so because with how we do our business, once you get set up, you can do majority of the business, run it on your phone. And instead of scrolling through and needlessly for like 1 hour, 2 hours, like I've heard stories where people are scrolling for 3, 4 hours. I'm like, you could have used that time. We could have taught you how to leverage the online system, but use it from a business perspective. So yeah, I mean, that's yeah, it's great that you have that story too, because I'm sure there's other people who've had health scares or actually had health scares and are, looking for other things. But Annie, the thing is, like, I don't know if you ever watched it, but it was a couple years ago. I did a presentation on one of the masterminds about change. And because working at BC Cancer, we have a medical rounds every Tuesdays at lunch. And a psychologist came in to do a talk. And the topic was why patients don't listen. And you're probably you probably can relate to this. It's like you tell them, like if they're getting diagnosed with diabetes, or like, okay, you tell them, okay, make sure you take your insulin at this time, make sure you do your sugar checks, make sure you avoid these foods, and then it just goes over the head. They don't really listen, or they're just like, and it's because there's 5 stages of change. And I think it's 4 or 5. Sorry, it's been a while, but there's several stages of change, and people will not absorb the information until they reach, I think it's step 3, in the sense of like, maybe like if they're diabetic and they end up having kidney issues and they become admitted, and so they're like, if you don't change your diet, you are going to have to get like a kidney transplant. And so it's just like, it really has to like get to that point where people have reached sort of not rock bottom, like either rock bottom or like they're the very lowest, and that's when they'll change. And so I'm hoping with when people see these lives, that they don't have to reach that very rock bottom to start making change, because when you're at that point, it's hard. It's a struggle to really get back up again. And so that's what I was saying, like you have to be proactive now. Just foresee yourself and see like how things are going to be in the next 1 or 2 years. And if you don't see if it's going to improve or not, then you need to make a change now. It's like what Annie said, when you're healthy, when you have the ability to do it, you got to do it now.
Yes, I mean, thank you for that, Coach Paulo. But really, you have to be proactive, right? Because I saw a lot of people that they just don't know where to go when something unexpected happen. They don't know what to do because they didn't really plan it in the right way. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not good in planning, but at least right now I am planning towards that. That I'm working to my plan B. I mean, so I'm building my own business to where if anything happens later on, at least I know that I have something to fall back on.
Yeah.
So I mean, so that's one thing about it. But I wish really I saw this business during pandemic. I always said that that's the regret that I but that time probably God did not show me this business because I wasn't ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but 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 thank you, Dr. Coach Paulo. And number 3 question for you is, I know that I always ask this. I know that different. I mean, in life we always have ups and downs, right? So,
Yeah.
what's your ups and downs, and how did you shape? How did it shape your approach to moving forward?
Yeah, so I'll start. Let's start with the downs with the business, because anytime you become, a business owner and with doing a digital business or an entrepreneur, there's always going to be ups and downs. I mean, I guess too that happens with even your regular day job, 9 to 5. There's ups and downs, but the downs with this was that. So when I started this business, I just started the pharmaceutical job. So I was learning a whole new different role, and I was flying between British Columbia and Alberta, back and forth. I would be maybe 6 to 8 times a month, and so I'd be on sites for 8 hours. But then on top of that travel time, like you're flying, it's about an hour and a half to like either Edmonton or Calgary or Kelowna. I'd be flying to. And so those days could be 10, 16-hour days. So I'd be on the road, in the taxi, in the airports. So that was the situation when I started doing this business. So I started this business 7 years ago, and the training part was actually easy to follow, because it's video based, it's step by step. So I was able to access all that information on my phone on the go. So I'd be watching 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there, and just sort of rewatching the videos that didn't really make sense. And so I learned all that, got my business up and running in about 2 to 3 weeks, which I think is pretty reasonable in a way of like starting a business. And I just kind of floated in a way. Like I was still kind of attending the masterminds, watching those, learning how to do advertisements and stuff. But I was deadly afraid to put myself out there doing videos, like, if you ask me if I would have the courage to do these lives like 7 years ago, I would be like, hell no, I can't do this kind of thing. And the reason why is because I've struggled through stage fright ever since I was a kid. And so since I started this business, I've been able to kind of break sort of that barrier of stage fright and really push myself to get out there. So getting out there was like doing these live business chats. Even within our community, I'd interview people within our community who reached major milestones as well. Even with when I was working for BC Cancer, I'd be talking about something I can't remember, but within my staff, which would be over like 80 people in the meeting. I even became part of like the whole social group thing at my department and organized their Christmas parties and MC at their Christmas parties. So I really pushed myself out there to get uncomfortable to feel comfortable. And so that was sort of the down thing of like trying to manage my workload, try to manage my stage fright. And then the other part was like trying to put myself out there and, do these videos and get comfortable with people seeing me. And so those were the downs that I had to really deal with. And then the other downs too is just like your personal life is still happening parallel to you doing the business. And so during the periods, like my business was taking off, I would say by the 3rd year mark. But then life happened. I went through a messy divorce. I had to sell my condo during the pandemic. I lost my Lola, my tita, one of my titos. Like it was just a very emotional sort of thing. And like even with my messy separation, was dealing with post-traumatic stress from that. And so it took a good almost 2.5, 3 years to mentally and emotionally get out of that. And so I was still plugged into the business, but I needed that time for myself in a way. And so now my business is starting to pick up again and get busy. And so those are sort of the downs of what happened to me. And I know with other people in this community, personal life does happen. And what the beauty part of this business is that you can put the business on pause, but still stay plugged in, watch the masterminds, keep posting your business page once a day, which I don't think is very much to ask for, because that would only take maybe 15-30 minutes of your day. And then deal with what you need to deal with, and then come back and let the business run again. So yeah, those are the downs. But the ups that I've gotten out of this was getting more confident in myself, being able to see what I can actually, on top of being confident, being able to see what I can actually create. I'm being more creative now with a lot of my posts and stuff. And it was a lot of that creativity that got buried because I was so busy doing my 9 to 5, the day jobs, and just stressed out that I never actually got back to, doing photography that I love to do, drawing, creating like really cool pictures and stuff on Canva, doing reels. And so like, it's really got me more back into my creative side of doing videography and photography. And the other thing too is that when my business was taking off at that point, I knew this was a real business in a way that what I make as a nurse in 1 month, I did that. And what is it? No, I did that. Sorry, I doubled that in 10 days with the
Wow.
business. So it was a 5-figure income. I made over 10,000, and I was just like, okay, no, this is a business that, like I said, it has no financial cap. It's just a matter of how much work you put into it. And the work part is like, I get this question a lot with when I get do my coaching calls, or like people who are inquiring, they're like, how much time do I need to put into this business? And I tell them up front, yeah, it takes about 2 to 3 weeks to get up and running, but the maintenance part, it really depends on your day. You can do 30 minutes in one day, you can do 1 hour, 2 hours, but it's all broken down in a way of like, you can do 10 minutes there, 15 minutes there, 30 minutes on your break. Like it just kind of sort of breaks. It's like all little small pockets of work. But for me, it doesn't really feel like work, because if you're already on social media and like scrolling through, you're putting a picture on your post on your page. That's sort of the things that we do as business owners and our businesses, because we teach people how to do that, but use sort of like attraction marketing in a sense with our posts. So yeah, those are sort of the big successes. And the other one is being able to travel. Like I ended up resigning from my nursing job in December because I told myself nursing is always going to be there. And the thing is, I feel very fortunate working with cancer patients because I have been able to learn a lot from them in a sense that life, I've always knew that, we only have one life to live and like your time is precious, but having conversations with hundreds of my patients who were wishing, because these are patients who would end up dying in about 6 months to 6 years with their prognosis. And I'd have conversations with them where they're like, I wish I had more time to, go on vacation. I wish I had more time to see my daughter, walk down the aisle. I wish I had like more time to see my grandkids grow up. And so the time factor was like the biggest thing. They're like, and so and they always saw how hard I worked, and they'd be like asking, when are you taking time off, sort of thing. And so I always told I was scared and nervous leaving like the nursing thing and then doing the business full time, but something with my gut instinct said, just Paulo, just do it. And my current partner now, he was able to take a sabbatical, and so the timing was just perfect. That we're like, you know what, let's just travel for 7 months. Because I can take the business with me. It's portable. I can, no matter what time zone you're in, you can still manage the business. And so I was able to travel to 21 different countries. I went down to Mexico, the US, living down in South America and Buenos Aires for a few months, traveled through Europe, did a 2-week Mediterranean cruise. Like, I was enjoying my life because for me, travel is such a unique experience in a way that it allows you to grow as an individual, to learn about different cultures, to put yourself outside of your comfort zone. Because me and my partner were both learning Spanish as well too. So it's like we're trying to learn the different, I'd say the different Spanish, because every country you go to, the accent is different, and so you're having to relearn how to understand it and so on. So it was every day was such a big learning thing for me and my partner. And so I enjoyed that. And I got to enjoy it with my partner too. And so these are life experiences that I would never be able to experience if I was constantly working. But because my business I can do on my phone all the time, it doesn't stop me from being able to live my life and enjoy it. So yeah, those are sort of the ups and downs of, I've experienced so far with doing this digital business.
Thank you, Coach Paulo. I know you love to travel. I
Yes.
see like your post is always about travel. It's like, where
Mhm.
is he now?
Yeah.
It's always like on some. Yeah, I don't think you stay in Vancouver. I think you're somewhere else
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're always traveling.
Yeah,
And
my cousins always ask my mom, like, where is he now? Like, is he in Vancouver?
yeah, because I saw you post and you're good in doing posting because you have all these. You're very creative. I'm not. I'm learning, but you're very creative with your post. And I was like, oh, he's somewhere. I don't know where's that, but I like the architecture of this country. I
Yeah,
love to travel because I like that to learn about people, about the culture, about
yeah,
you learn something. Like when I left my country in Philippines and be able to go, work in other country, it opened up your mind that there is something more out there.
yeah,
Because if I stay in the Philippines, I only know what's the Philippines way of doing things. And that's the good thing about that. And the great thing about our business, even if you're traveling, you're still making
yeah.
you're
You're
earning, like you're getting paid for traveling. And that's one thing about that. It's really great because you're
yeah.
still getting paid, even though you're traveling, because you can take it with you anywhere,
Mhm.
right? You can do the business. So that's why you don't get stuck in one country or in one place.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, Coach Paulo. And uh my core question, how has this digital business impacted your life and career so far? But I think you already covered this.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been able to act. Yeah, I mean, besides the travel part, and I mentioned like it's helped me build the confidence and stuff, but it's allowed me to. So during that time when I was nursing, and like I felt, they always say the tunnel, like the tunnel just gets longer, and the light at the end of the tunnel just felt like it was just getting further and further away. Excuse me. And so with doing the business, that light became closer and closer each time I was running the business, and each time I was earning commissions, and my business was growing, and so it gave me that light again. It gave me that light to be able to dream again, to be able to say, like, if I want to accomplish something, I'm actually gonna be able to do it. I mean, I started a vision board, because even before the business, I always thought, things always like ends up working out for me. I always say that regardless of what happens, things always work out. And so with doing this business, I've learned a lot of, I've done a lot of self development through, um, you know, doing a vision board, doing my affirmations in the morning. And, I read the book, what is it called? The Magic is the one book I read a lot too, which helps kind of, it's a 30-day gratitude book, to help you look at the positives in life, because our brain is taught to always say, like, what if this doesn't work out, or what if this fails, what if people, you know don't agree with what I'm doing and stuff. But then it switches your thinking and be like, okay, instead of saying what if, you're like, what if I succeed, what if I actually, my business takes off, or who cares about what people think, because they're not paying my bills. And I find a lot of these things too is like, you really have to develop this business has helped me create a bigger sort of wall, a strong wall, in a way that when I hear people's negative opinions about this business and say, like, oh, it's like it's a scam, or you're not gonna be successful, and I'm just like, you know what, I'm not gonna listen to you, because I look at your life and be like, yeah, you're complaining all the time about things and struggles, but you're not doing anything about it. I'm doing something about it, because I'm like, I want a better life. And so I've stopped listening to, I wouldn't say listen. I listen to people, but I don't take their opinions at heart. And then I take opinions more from my mentors that I look up to, other coaches, and then I follow other people online, like Grant Cardone, Gary Vaynerchuk, Simon Sinek. Like, these are really great people who come from nothing and created, their own empires and businesses. And so I listen to them, and that's what the one thing is, like, I've become more mindful of who I surround myself with, because they always say the 5 people that you surround yourself with is the person that you become. And so I want to be surrounded by 5 successful people who challenge me, who are not going to push me down when I have an idea. Because, like, when you have an idea and you bring it up with people who aren't in the same mindset as you, they're like, ooh, I don't know if that's going to work, or like, how much is that going to cost, or that sounds complicated. Whereas if you talk to people with the same mindset, they're like, that sounds like a really great idea. Like, let me know if there's anything I can do to help you, reach that goal or create that. And so that's what I found, like, sort of the things that I've been able to get with this business. And then, like I said, this business is gonna help me fuel other sort of and other ventures, and it's helped me create another venture with my partner where we have a YouTube travel channel. So that's because of the marketing knowledge that I've learned from this business, because we teach people how to do social media marketing. We teach people how to create social media business pages. And so it's targeted specifically for our business model and system, but in general, you can use that same information and open up another business. And so because I had all that information, I was able to create this YouTube channel. I was able to create it and making sure that I have an Instagram page for it. What is it? Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook page. Like, I created the branding, the colors, because of what I've learned from here. And then the other things I want to do is, like, I want to do other sort of, yeah, I want to use that money, invest into other things, create a foundation, to help other people. I've been putting money aside for my niece and nephews, so that they can use that money. I don't want them to use it to go to school. I want them to use it to learn how to become financially literate. I want them to find a really good mentor out there who is a business owner or entrepreneur, and so that they can, I can fly them out there, get them connected, so that they can job shadow that person and get to learn from that person, because that's the only way that because I want my nieces and nephews to have a better life. I don't want them to be taught that you have to go to school, get a good education, get married, and then, like, buy this house, and that's, your life is going to be amazing, because nowadays that's not the case. And I want them to become really good entrepreneurs and business people so that they can in turn, it's sort of like that ripple effect. I can teach them what I've learned so that they can do the same thing and then create another sort of ripple effect of community of being able to help others. Because this business, I initially came into this business for the money, but now I've realized what my purpose is in life with this business is to help others improve their quality of life, to help others realize that there is better opportunities out there in a way that you can create the time and financial freedom. And so that I know is my purpose. And so that's, yeah, I mean, other than, yeah, all the other stuff I mentioned, that's sort of the other things I've learned and been able to get from this business.
Thank you, Coach Paulo. That is really great. I mean, like when you said like you see the lights and it's getting closer, it's like me when I wasn't in this business. I always like I thought there's no another way out for me, just nursing where I have to retire at the age of certain age
Yeah.
and rely on your own retirement from your work. But now I actually say myself that there's hope for me. There is hope that those dreams that I could not reach, even though I'm working as a nurse. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my job. I mean, my nursing job. I mean, I get paid great, but still I could not do the things that I want and I could not reach the goal. I mean, the goal that I want based on my income.
Yeah.
So I said like in this business, there's a way because we already see this. There's so many in our community that has been reach their goal. I mean, and I was like, one day I'm gonna be like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing,
Hey, I'm gonna be like that. It's like at least I said I have hope now. So I always look at that day, like every day that when I get up, it's like I need to do my business because I have
yeah.
hope. I gotta
Yeah.
I have goals I need to reach.
Yeah.
And instead I used to use the Facebook before just to take a selfie and post in there. Now I put selfie, but there's a purpose into it.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah,
And
let
I
me give
want
you
to
selfie for something.
And then I want to just touch on like even with the nursing stuff because like you and me both say that we still love nursing, but when so we're not telling people just quit their jobs, do this
Mhm.
business, and you'll be successful because a lot of people are they still love what they do, but it's just the workload and the stress. And so I
Mhm.
remember interviewing another couple from Sweden who are both nurses, and with them doing the business full time, they're able to step back from their full time nursing job and work part time. And I when I work part time and casual, I enjoy going into work because I'm like, okay, I don't have a full work, like I don't have to like follow all these patients. I don't have to open up studies. I can just see patients and then like, give that information back to my other colleague afterwards. But it was just a much more manageable workload.
Mhm.
And I came into work happier. I was able to help people better because when your cup is full, you can help people in a more positive light instead of coming into work half full and you're grumpy and you just give off such a bad vibe to people. And so that's why for me, I don't think I'll ever get away from nursing. Probably won't be doing like inpatient, outpatient stuff, but I know I got interviewed by another gentleman in our community. He's a nurse as well, but he mentioned that he does volunteer work as a nurse, I think in other countries. And so I want to be able to do that at some point down the road because I mean, I have 21 years of nursing experience that I should be able to help and give back to less fortunate people and be able to show them, how to do like proper hand washing, how to do dressing change, how to put in an IV. Like those are skills that will never disappear because it's stuff that we constantly did as nurses. So it's ingrained in you what to do. And so I want to be able to do that down the road because I still enjoy nursing. I still enjoy helping people. But I know I'm going to, moving forward, do it in a different sort of light, different perspective. So yeah, that's what I'm kind of really curious to see what is going to happen with my nursing knowledge. But yeah, it's going to be exciting to see.
Yeah, I mean, you can use your nursing in a different way. Like you say, you can go volunteer and help those unfortunate people. And you don't have to really go back to work to where you're doing full time,
Yeah,
something that you can use because you have 21 years of nursing background. You can actually use that, and just to help people like me, you never know one day, right? I will go because right now I'm actually part of disaster emergency program to where if there is a disaster like during pandemic we were
yeah.
sent to different state and help
Oh
out.
wow.
Yeah, and I never done that before working in a regular, in a private hospital, but because
Yeah,
I work for the federal government, so I was able to do that, and I love it. And I was like, I want to do this when I retire. I still want to volunteer. I
yeah,
still want to, especially go to the third world country and help
yeah,
them because they are the one that really need it. They don't
yeah,
even know how to wash hand properly. So, and that is just like our normal thing that we need to do. But I mean, those things are really important, but we can actually do that. I mean, even if I wonder if I, like retire from this, I still want to do nursing in a different way that
yeah.
I can use my knowledge that I can help other people that is unfortunate that needed my help. But thank
Yeah.
you, thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Coach Paulo. Thank you so much for yeah. It's this I like this because there's so much information, so I get to know you better.
Yeah,
Not Coach Paulo before now. We're talking here, and here, online. I get to know you. Like I feel like I know you already.
yeah.
But my last question, of course, I always ask this, but what is the single most valuable advice that you could give to our followers, our fence sitter, or those that are just starting in the business?
Okay. So two parts. So the first one I'll mention, like for those who are looking into it, is that don't wait. Because I like couple of reasons I always hear from people is that I don't have the time to do it, or I don't have the funds to do it. And so the thing is, like we talked about being proactive, and then so it's like if you learn how to manage your time in a way of like not of juggling, taking like actually sitting down and look at your schedule and see like what do you do outside of your day job. And it just fascinates me in the sense that like how we when you work for somebody else, you're either working 8 or 12 hours, you go in and do the job, you go and do all that stuff, but then when it comes time to actually putting time into yourself, either through self development or starting a business, you procrastinate. You're like, no, I don't have time, or I don't have the energy, or like, oh, I'll do that another day. And so it's like you have to flip that thing around and be like, you know, not like you're with your day job, I say, not like pushing too hard in a way that you burn out, but use some of that energy and put it towards the business, because having a business allows you to it opens up many other doors in a way of time freedom, as I mentioned, and financial freedom, but it also allows you to be able to um, create a business that you can pass down to your kids. I can't pass down my nursing to anyone. It stays with me, and when I die, it stays with me. So yeah, it's don't wait. And then also I did mention, like, where do you see yourself in 1 or 2 years? I know this is a very hard question to ask yourself, and so don't think about it. Write it down on, because I find when you think about it, your thoughts are just floating in your mind. Sit down and write down, where do you see yourself in 1 or 2 years, and do the pros and cons of, like, okay, if you stay in your current day job, what are the pros and cons? And actually write it down and see what is actually happening in your life. And if you don't see any change over the next 1 or 2 years, where either your pay doesn't get increased, you're not getting sufficiently rewarded for the hard work that you do, you're constantly working on weeknights, weekends, and like putting more than what you are actually getting paid for, then you have to start this business or start any other digital business that's legitimate. Because I we always get taught this when you do your whole mindset and self development, is that money is in abundance. It's out there, and it's the thing is, you have to really get a good sort of relationship with money and don't see it as a negative thing, because money, um, so yeah, I attended this thing last weekend because I'm trying to become better at public speaking, and the gentleman there, his name is Paul Getter. He actually is a pastor, but he's worked with big people like Gary Vaynerchuk, Grant Cardone, Kevin Hart, and helped them become better at public speaking. But he was struggling with being like with a pastor and making money, because in a lot of religions they say money is bad, it's evil. But when you read, he was saying one of the scriptures is like, but if your cup, don't quote me, because I grew up Catholic, but I had to stop practicing. But I know he said in the Bible there's something saying like, if your cup isn't full, then you can't really help other people. And so with him earning money, it allows him to help more people, help people, have more options to pass on sort of his knowledge, his training, and so on. And so that's one thing that you have to do is just kind of get a better sort of relationship with money. But yeah, don't wait, and try to find the right time to start the business, because if you really truly want it, if you really truly want change, then just take that first step. You may not know what step 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is, but if you start worrying too far in the future, then you're not going to take that first step. And so, yeah, do that. And, obviously, if you haven't watched the information webinar, watch it, because it gives you sort of the general visual presentation, what the business model and system and the automation part that we're using. And the biggest thing is, what makes our sort of system unique is the whole automated part, because it takes care of a lot of sort of the heavy lifting of like email campaigns and like the webinars being talked to, and so it allows you to just focus on one part of your business, which is the marketing. And that's why a lot of us within our community have become very successful, because when we all started, a lot of us are working day jobs and have other commitments. But because of how our automated system is incorporated into our business, it gives you more time to actually make this, still use this business as a plan B. Your plan A is your day job, but then it slowly kind of changes in a way as your business progresses. So yeah, I wouldn't wait any longer and wait to try to find the time. Just take the step. And then for sort of the finances wise, if you really want to do this business, you'll find ways to get the business up and running. So you might stop, buying like extra junk food, or like cut back in smoking, cut back in drinking, and just make small sacrifices in a way, because those small sacrifices do add up. Because I know when I talk to some people, sometimes they will wait 1, 2, 3 years to save up money, and then they'll start the business. And then for those who are already doing the business, just keep staying plugged in, watch some masterminds, keep posting on your business page. For 7 years, I've been posting my business page at least once a day. And then also the masterminds I watch every day, even though I don't watch a lot of them live, I watch the replays, because you learn a lot from these masterminds. And so for those who have never seen one of our masterminds either talk about, the business, but then talks about sort of the mindset. So it's a list of different various topics that we talk about, but every mastermind has chunks of information there that you can learn and adapt into your business. Like, I'm constantly learning something new every time I watch one of those masterminds. And the other thing is that don't sit in silence if you have questions or you're not sure what to do, or what steps to take. Don't skip steps too, is the other big thing, because it's like following a recipe. You don't skip the steps. You follow step 1 all the way down to all the numbers chronologically, because if you skip a step and you do something else, it can affect your business, and it's just more work in the end. And then don't be afraid to ask questions to your mentor or your coach. But because our community is so global, you can connect with other people as well within our community. And so, because I think we're over almost close to 6,000 to 8,000 people that are actually doing the business. And so that's that's a lot of connections that you can have and create with other people in your local area or even just online. I've met some great people online as well. And when I actually do meet them in person, I feel like I've already known them because it's just like, yeah, you just build that connection. And so it's just been such a great experience. But yeah, I mean, take a look in this business and follow. Yeah, the last thing is just follow your gut instinct because your instinct is what got you to where you are now. It's your sort of survival mode, and it's sort of that magnet that helps you kind of pull you towards the right direction. So yeah, that's it, Annie, for sort of the tips for people who are looking into the business and people who are already starting the business.
Thank you, Coach Philo, for that. I mean, really valuable tips, you know. And
Yeah,
you all heard from one of our successful coaches, Coach Paulo, and what the best thing to do, like to take an action, because really, a lot of people will always ask, how much is the investment without even taking the action? And I was like, before we go to the investment, register to my website, you know, and look at the business first and see if it is for you. Otherwise, even if you ask for me for the investment and you think that business is for you, there's nothing really. Well, what's worry about investment when you haven't even looked at the webinar? And that's the
yeah,
first step, you know, the webinar. But a lot of people doesn't like to watch webinar. I was like, if you can't even find the time to watch the webinar, even at least 15 minutes every here and there. So how are you gonna do this business? Because a lot of our information is online, you know. I mean, a lot of information we learn it online. And this is online. I mean, it's just that 99% here is online. So I mean, it's just that if you don't take the time to watch the webinar and understand it and get to know about the business, so why are you worrying about other thing? You're jumping from one thing to the other thing, which is not really, to me, it's like focus on one step.
yeah,
Focus on one step. When it comes to recipe, I'm pretty bad of not. I'm pretty bad of not following recipe because I always experiment.
yeah,
That one thing that I don't follow recipe. That's why I always experiment because I want to try something else.
yeah,
But of course, if you want to make it taste the same thing, you got to follow the recipe, right?
yeah,
But thank you, Coach Philo. Really, this is enjoyable. Now I really know you now because before I always just like I know you're a nurse and you like to travel, but aside from that, it's like okay, I know he lives in Vancouver, but I don't
yeah,
really know much about him.
yeah,
But now I know you now. It's like, wow, I remember first. This is what the good thing about our digital business because we get to know people from different world, you know, and just by talking to them. And we don't even meet, we haven't met each other in person, but I know when I met, when if in one convention, I will probably see Coach Paulo and I will probably like, I already know him, you know.
yeah,
You don't have to like, hi, I'm this, you know, you don't have to introduce your name because I already know you. You know, it's just like this connection. But
yeah.
thank you for your time. I know
You're
you are
welcome.
busy, and I do appreciate this that you gave me a time because your time is valuable. You know, my time is valuable, so I really do appreciate your time that you spend here
You're welcome.
to share your journey and to give some advice to everyone that are watching and everyone that wanting to start the business or everyone that's already in the business.
Yeah,
So I just before I say thank you everybody and I see you again tomorrow.
I
We
know.
have a weekly show, our own. So I'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you, Coach Paulo. Have a great
Welcome.
day and
Thank
happy
you for
blessed
having me.
Monday. Bye.